Hello, I'm Sahar. Welcome to Podcasts for Life.
Michael Levy, welcome to Podcasts for Life.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today.
We're really appreciative of your time. Michael, your poetry essays are posted well over 1,000 websites, journals, and magazines, of course including psmagazine.com, to which you are a regular contributor. You're also a renowned speaker on finance, wellness, and inspiration. You've also appeared on TV in the USA, as well as in the United Kingdom, and hundreds of radio stations throughout the world. On your website, which is www.pointoflife.com, you say, the guiding force has always been the spirit of the universe. Can you explain a little bit on that?
Absolutely. Within each human being lives the core value of that human being. And that core value, we refer to it as a soul. But just making the word up like a soul, everybody's got different interpretations.
Right.
There's religious interpretations of a soul, and there's interpretations outside mainstream religion. People think because you mention soul and spirit, it's owned by religion. And it's not.
That's a very good point.
God does not have a religion. So that core value of who we are is our true identity. And that identity is an eternal identity. And that identity is fed from spirit. The soul is a dimension of spirit. So spirit feeds our thoughts, and we find our creativity within that universal spirit. Without it, what happens is we go to university, we get our schooling, we get an education, and if we rely solely on that education, then we really don't know how to apply it for the betterment of humanity. And because we do that, we get the world crisis that we have on a daily basis and the headlines that we get in the newspapers. All that comes from the erroneousness of living purely by intellect or ego alone. And the word ego means ease God out. God is universal spirit. That's another word for universal spirit. Again, the word God is used in religions, but again, they don't own God. God does not have a religion.
Yes.
So we are all part of that universal spirit. And once we start to understand it, and we comprehend it, and know we are part of it, it feeds our thoughts.
So what you're saying really is that we're all interconnected, and you call it spirit or you call it God, it's the same energy basically, or the same source, that we are all different aspects of.
Yeah, well the thing is, it's interconnected, yet we're here in a human form. And that human form has a uniqueness. And the uniqueness in it is the intellect and the ego. And I'm not decrying it. What I'm saying is that ego and intellect needs to be guided by that universal force rather than try to master it.
Absolutely.
And what most people try and do is they try and master it. And the results are devastating. We can't master it. We cannot live by our own truths. We have to live by those universal truths. And if we try and bend and twist it, even God can't change the truth.
Yes. So really one of the most important aspects is to stay open for guidance, so to speak, for lack of better words.
Open and free-mindedness. Not to ever be restricted into one way of thought. Because even what we're saying now couldn't be changed sometime in the future when we're applying it to truth.
Yes.
Everything changes. Everything is in constant flux. And as human beings, we come in as a baby. We come in with the full knowledge of that universal spirit. And as we start to grow, that universal spirit starts to diminish itself, and we take over by our education and what we think we know. And we drown that quiet voice out, that silent voice, and we start to fill it with our minds full of intellectual knowledge. And that leads us on a path that will lead us to eating all the wrong types of foods, making the wrong investments in the stock market and wherever else, and leave us to thinking thoughts that aren't happy.
Now, speaking of devastation, if I can go back to an experience that you spoke about on your website, perhaps one of the most devastating experiences for you was the death of your mother about 28 years ago. Recalling that experience, which you describe in a very heartfelt way, you said it was a feeling of knowing she hadn't gone away. Mother, was still inside of me, and although I couldn't reach out to hold and kiss her, inwardly our souls were still connected, and the feeling of love and joy was overwhelming. Can you, Mike, tell our listeners, how did you experience that connection, and what does that mean for you?
Well, at the time, I didn't know what actually was happening to me. My mother died when I was 23 years of age, and after 2 years of being in hospital, having many operations, and being used basically as an experimental pincushion for the surgeons.
Yes.
And when she actually passed over, to me, it was a total devastation. My whole life we've been very, very close. She is one of life's angels. We'd only do good work for people. And because of all the aggravation and all the worry that she had and anxiety, she died at 55 years of age. And I say for 2 days, I was totally devastated. And then something strange happened. Then I woke up in the morning and a sense of tranquility and peacefulness swept over me. And it was a peacefulness, and then it turned into an actual joy. Because I'd realized then that my mother had gone nowhere.
That's amazing.
We were still connected and I didn't know at that time what spirit or religion was. I think that was part of the Jewish religion. Basically, I never really actually followed it. I always found there was things there that I couldn't come to terms with. But the thing is that there was something there at that moment in time that transformed that sorrow into pure joy. Now, I've always lived from being a baby in a state of joy, in a state of happiness. And this devastation took that away dramatically for just 2 days.
Amazing.
And after that 2 days, that joy returned. And the knowingness that my mother is inside me now. As we speak, she's enjoying this conversation with us. Now, the fact is this. People say, either you've gone crazy, or isn't it selfish not to mourn? Isn't it selfish not to feel devastation? Well, the opposite is true, actually.
Yes.
It's selfish to mourn. And I'll tell you the reason why I say that.
Yes.
If the spirit of your dear loved ones is within you, and they're inside you, following your every footsteps, if you're feeling sorrow, they're also feeling sorrow. And the last thing in the world I want is for my mother to feel sorrow.
That's a wonderful thought. Yes, yeah.
So if I'm happy, she's happy, and I follow throughout my earthly existence, she will be experiencing that alongside me, plus all the other loved ones that are connected to me.
Absolutely. I'd like to ask you about your first book, which you've written, of course, in 10 days, without any previous experience, which is entitled What is the Point? You also make the point on your website, and I quote, "The reason we all exist on Earth is to enjoy our time on Earth." Can you expand a little bit on that concept?
Yeah, and that follows on to what I'm saying about living in joy.
Yes.
The actual book, it was formulated. I was in the UK. I'm Manchester born. I lived in the UK for 40 odd years.
Now you're based in Florida.
Now I'm based in Florida. In '92, I came out here full time. I didn't know a reason at the time why I was coming out here. I had a successful textile corporation. I was very successful in commercial property. I've invested in the stock market for 40 years very successfully, and I've also invested in commodities for 16 years. So I had a good background in that, but I didn't know why I was coming out to Florida. I thought it was to play golf and bridge. But after a 6-year time out, and 6 years of sitting out looking into the universe, into the stars, asking many inward profound questions, these questions started to be answered slowly. And I've never read a book in my life, and I never ever wrote, and I never wrote poetry before, yet I sat down on August the 1st, and by August the 10th, I'd written What is the Point?
That's wonderful.
And it's a very simple book. It's a simple book, but it contains the knowledge that every child over the 12 years of age should read to put them on the path of life that they need to live on.
Yes.
And the basic thing is this. We're here for one reason only, and this is the meaning of life that so many people find so hard to explain. And it's very easy to explain. We live on earth to live in joy. J-O-Y. Those 3 letters mean just obey yourself. Not the ego self, not the intellectual self, but the soul self. And the soul self only knows bliss. It knows a divine blissfulness. And that divine blissfulness goes from moment to moment in human existence in a state of joy, like ascending a ladder. Now, like say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, di, do. When you get to the do, what happens is a new scale drops down.
Yeah.
And as that new scale drops down, you start again. So the blissfulness
Continues.
isn't starting from the low one. All the time you're starting from the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, di, do, back to do again. But it's going higher and higher from moment to moment. Now, I cannot see any other reason why anybody would want to live in misery or any other experience anything else but that divine joy. Now people will say to you, it's okay for you to speak. What about if you've got devastations in your life, you've got sickness, what about wars? What about all the horrific things you see on TV? Yes, indeed. What is going on in this world today is pitiful, it's erroneous, and it's a cause for concern, but not a cause for worry. Because worry brings wrinkles. Worry kills people too early.
That's
but
right.
if you're concerned about it, you can take an active part in it, and you can live with an objective detachment. An objective detachment means you're in this world, but not actually part of it. You live as a human being, but your true core is eternal in universal spirit. You're floating around the universe at the same time as being in here. And you're oscillating. Now, this is quantum physics at its finest. Because when quantum physics magnifies the human cell to the finest particle, it sees it oscillating in and out of existence as we speak now. And our 7 trillion cells in our body, the particles in those cells are oscillating in and out of existence as we speak. And where are they going to? Science doesn't know. Science hasn't got an answer to where we go to when we oscillate out. And this is a very fast movement.
Yeah.
So all we see is a solid form. But what we must understand is this, without getting too technical, because we don't have a great deal of time in this, but what we must understand is this. In our physical form, nothing is really as it seems.
Yes.
The world is full of illusionary things. Even colour is an illusion.
Yes.
Colour is gases burning on the sun, which are reflected through prisms that reflect in colour on Earth.
Yes.
So as we see that, we see through our eyesight that it's colour, but the actual colours that we're seeing aren't actually real.
Yeah.
And nothing that we do in actual physical form is real in the true sense. Real means
it's the way we perceive them rather than absolute terms. Yeah.
Right. So real means lasting, and what is lasting is our ever live essence, our true essence of being, and that isn't contained actually in physical form, although it escalates in and out of this physical form. So yes, we can enjoy our physical form only if we understand we're far more than this third-dimensional or fourth-dimensional reality that we see. However, if we get sucked into this third-dimensional reality and see it as our only existence, then indeed, when people say it's impossible for us to be happy,
it becomes harder, yes.
Well, it's not because for those people, it's impossible.
It's impossible,
because
yeah.
they can't, and I understand when people tell me that I'm crazy or I'm stupid or whatever. From their intellectual viewpoint, they're correct. I am stupid from their viewpoint, no question. But the actual fact is, if they want to live that way, nothing I can do about it.
Absolutely.
You know, I can take people to a door. I can open that door for them and say, "Look at that bright light. Isn't it magnificent?" But you must walk through that door by yourself. I can only lead you to it. I can't change anybody's life. I can only help people to understand who they are for themselves. And every human being has a genius inside them.
That's right, waiting to get out. That's a beautiful
yeah.
thought. Yes. Well, thank you very much, Michael, for being with us, and I hope we can chat to you some more.
Yeah, I would love to. And the next time, maybe we can talk about the stock market and stock market gyrations and why that's happening, and help people to invest correctly in the stock market, so we can dedicate one of these casts.
Yes, I would like actually to talk to you about that. So we'll definitely be chatting soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.